Okay, so hey everyone, I'm Emily. If you don't already know me, I'm Emily from GoWP. Really quick, I just want to say a couple words about GoWP in case anyone watching here isn't familiar with us. At GoWP, it's our mission to create happiness by providing exceptional outsourced services for agencies. We help agency owners grow, and increase profits by helping them expand their team, outsource their services, and learn with expert training like today's webinar. So whether you're looking to expand your team with a GoWP dedicated developer or outsource your tedious but important tasks like maintenance, content edits, page build outs, the team at GoWP is here to help. So reach out. You can send me a chat here. You can join our Facebook group. You can contact us from our website. Let me know and we'll be happy to help out. So I also want to mention that creating a GoWP partner account is 100% free and gets you access to all sorts of resources to grow your agency. Currently in the client portal, we have landing page templates to help you sell care plans. We have a maintenance schedule lead magnet and a landing page template to go along with that to help you generate leads and increase your recurring revenue. And we also have all sorts of documentation that you can take and make your own to use with your clients and prospects. And you can create your partner account at my.gowp.com, and we'll share some links here just so you don't have to remember all that. So if you have any questions about partnering with GoWP, how we can help your agency, feel free to email me at emily@gowp.com or reach out to me whatever way works for you. I'm available. So look forward to hearing from you. I also wanted to tell you about our Facebook group. So for those of you watching here in the Zoom webinar, we do have a Facebook group that you've heard me mention already. It's the GoWP Niche Agency Owners Facebook group. And this is a community of agency professionals and also owners of services that are designed to help agencies. We're broadcasting this webinar live in the group now, and it will be available to watch there afterward also. So go check it out and request to join. We've got Lee saying it's a lovely group. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate that. And it really is. I love that group. We have so many fantastic members. We do a weekly Friday happiness hour call. Lots of fun things going on. So would love to have you there if you're not already a member. Just a few quick notes regarding the webinar. I'll be watching the chat here in the Zoom room and also over on the Facebook group. So if you have questions, throw them up in the comments. We'll get them to Lee. We already have the chats working. Lots of great comments. Thank you for that, folks. So let's go ahead and get started. So we are here with Lee Jackson, who I'm sure many of you already know and really requires not much of an introduction, but Lee is the founder of the agency Trailblazer podcast and community. It's a fantastic podcast. I really recommend checking that out, and I will put a link to that in there as well. And he is also the founder of Event Engine, which is his agency, which we'll learn more about today. So Lee, welcome. Thank you so much.
All right. Shall I share my screen and everything?
Yeah, go for it. I'll go ahead and turn my video off and mute myself because I've got a couple kids eating lunch out there. So.
Am I sharing the right screen? Can you see my slides?
I see your slides. Yep, looks good.
So you see my slides and you don't see my Facebook.
But don't see your Facebook. No.
That's good then. That's always a panic. Like you're going to see messages to my wife or stuff.
None of that. None of that.
We're all good. Okay, cool. Right. I'm going to get my mouse in the right position. Folks, thank you so much for joining us here in the middle of the heat wave here in the UK at 21 degrees, which is room temperature. I'm baking. However, thank you. If I pass out at any point, please just entertain yourselves in the chat. Today, we're going to talk about resetting your agency or transforming your business during difficult times. And I actually want to go into a time machine shortly with you and tell you about our difficult times back in the mid to late 2000s, and then we hit the recession, which made it worse. So we're kind of going to go on a bit of a pity party with me, a few tears maybe, but then we're going to kind of discover what happened, how things changed, and what the stages of change were. And through that, we will help you understand what stage you might already be at yourself in your business, and you hopefully are not anywhere near where we were. But wherever you are, if you're feeling I'm not in the right place right now, or things are a bit more difficult than I'd like, or I'm not punching through the glass ceiling yet, I'm still doing the same old, then hopefully this webinar will help you understand where you are at in the 5 stages of transformation and what you need to do next. So without further ado, let's give you a little bit of a background. I'm going to turn this fan off now because it is a bit too loud. Right. I am Lee Jackson. I'm a brand ambassador for Cloudways, which is why I always seem to wear the same t-shirt. I get them for free. So basically, if you want me to wear your t-shirt, I'll happily extra large wear your t-shirt. I also run a agency called Event Engine. It's a very old agency, and I'll give you a bit of history about that shortly. We've then got agency Trailblazer as a brand, which is a YouTube channel. It also has the podcast, and agency Trailblazer itself also finances the Agency Transformation Live Summit that we do every year. We've not done it this year because we've decided to support all the other virtual events that are happening. We're a physical event, and whilst we did one virtual event last year to cover people, we figured we'd let everyone else do the virtual events and we'll do our physical, hopefully in 2022. And finally, I'm a Cloudways maverick along with Jan, with Brent Weaver, and with Picha Neri. And we get to show up once or twice a week, sharing awesome value. In fact, they were covering me today so that I could be with you, which is phenomenal. Let's jump into that time machine. You can choose whatever time machine you want of your choice. I personally like the TARDIS. Doctor Who is amazing. Let us know in the comments who was your favorite Doctor Who if you follow that show. For me, it was always Matt Smith. He will forever be my doctor. All right, back into the time machine. In the mid 2000s, I was running an agency with two other business partners. There were three of us. We were stressed. We worked ridiculously long hours. To give you an example of those long hours, it would be an 18-hour day, 5 to 7 days a week, depending on what the demand was. There were times when I would go to bed at 3 and get up at 4 or 5, as in I would get a nap just to be ready for the following go live the next day. It was a very horrible time of our lives. So long hours. We operated in a feast or famine cycle. We would get new business in because we needed to get that new business in. It would all come piling in, and then we would just be on the tools, going crazy, trying to get that work done, with no scope, no space for marketing or for looking at what the future held. We had a pipeline that we needed to fill and no time to fill it because we thought as an agency, we had to look after the invoiced work, the paying clients. So we put them above anything else. And then boom, we were back in famine with 30 to 40K per month of just salary alone to pay to all these employees that we had. We had 15, 16 employees at one point. We were also trapped in the business. We'd gotten to that point where we owed so much that even if we left the business, the debt would follow us. It was secured against our homes, against our mortgages, against insurances. We were in a bad situation. So we just could not run away from the business. We had to make it work or go down with it and lose everything. That's kind of the point we were at. It was not a fun time. We essentially had too many products or services. We prided ourselves in being a full service agency. We thought that was awesome. And a lot of us had had a lot of London experience. So we would say that we were the London experience, but not London prices. So we would compete on price and we would say we could give you everything. So if you had budget for a website, but you also wanted a social media campaign, you also wanted an app, you also wanted X, Y, and Z, we would say we could do it all. And we'd also try and sell you more stuff on top that you may or may not have needed. And I think like many businesses, even today, we would go through that cycle of thinking, you know what, we'll work it out. We'll quote for it and we'll work it out as we go because we know we can do it. And that's not a great way to run a business. I mean, we managed, but that's because we were working these long 18-hour days with too many products and services. The other problem we had here was that no client was the same. If I'm offering a full service, then I'm not getting that experience of working with a similar client type. I'm doing a different product or service for a different client every single time. And they were harder and harder to win. That was because of our messaging. Our messaging was essentially that we were the London service, but we were cheaper than London. That's not a really good start. We were already competing on price. But if you imagine even now, it's a constant race to the bottom. If you look at Upwork and Fiverr, you can get freelancers, designers, etc., for exceptionally cheap. So we were now a full service agency trying to compete with an ongoing race to the bottom on price for our design, our development, for our consultancy, for all the many different services that we thought we had to offer to be attractive and to be appealing. And finally, I mentioned that we didn't look after that pipeline, that marketing pipeline. So our marketing process was very much a scattergun approach. Let's buy some data and email 3,000 people that have never heard of us in the hope that somebody will respond and we'll get some business from it. We'll do that randomly. Oh, let's go to XYZ event, try and show up and try and get to know a few people, and hopefully we'll get some business from that. Oh, let's join the local networking. That was one of the things I did. And I used to stand up saying we build websites, and I'd fill the whole 60 seconds with a whole list of all the things that we would do, and we'd never get a bite. And then what happened was the recession. So if you feel depressed, I'm sorry. It's going to get better. There is a happy ending. I'm on this call for a start off, but that's where we were. And then the recession hit. And during that recession, we had clients squeezing us like crazy. We had one particular contract that was hitting at 10K a month, and that client squeezed us down to giving them the same service at 1K a month, until we suddenly realized that we were idiots and we needed to stop because we were losing money. So let's take a little look at where we are today, then what we did, and then we'll go into those stages of transformation. Where we are today, Event Engine is a software as a service company. We also offer consultancy. We also offer custom development, and we focus specifically for conference organizers in the events industry. But we've niched down into an area where it's a group of businesses that would be termed as professional conference organizers. That's PCOs. And we've niched down even further into that for the ones that work with public service, public sector, and pharmaceuticals. So we've got a very, very specific type of client. We know what it is that they do. We know what their needs are. We know they have the need for big data. So we process big data, etc. And we know how to attract good paying exhibitors, speakers, sponsors, etc. to those types, very specific types of events. So that's where our strength lies. We now support conferences all around the world. We've powered thousands now. We have powered hundreds of digital venues, believe it or not, already. Thank you. Not really thank you, COVID, but COVID made us change a lot. We work with a lot of high-risk clients, especially in pharmaceuticals, etc. We've powered at one point 500 websites just on one WordPress multi-site instance alone, which was a phenomenal experience. So we're working with huge networks of sites. And finally, we're also responsible for rolling out business continuity for a lot of these larger types of businesses. That's ensuring that they can be selling tickets, etc., or getting people access to their content 24 hours a day with redundancy. So we work with a lot of enterprise companies, each of whom may power or may run 100 to 1,000 conferences a year. So that's kind of where we are at today. So back in the time machine, we were a local business in Bedford trying to serve anyone and everyone, and we were struggling. Fast forward to now, we are actually two companies. One is the entire design agency, and then one is the digital agency. The design agency we still work with. They do all of the branding for the events. And then the digital agency, that's Event Engine. We do the data and we do the development and the software as a service element of things. So we've now got two successful businesses focused on a very, very specific niche for a very specific type of client, and both are very successful. We were, we were at the point where I think we were going to murder each other as business partners, and now we're all mates and we own these two businesses and we collaborate all the time, and we're in a good situation now, which is really nice. And we've been able to weather the storm of COVID, where we're in the professional conference sector. You would imagine, wouldn't you, that we would have struggled. Thankfully, because we are seen as leaders in this industry, people have come to us and we've helped them go digital with their events. So that's only meant ongoing growth for us as an agency, despite the negative impact of the global environment. So that's where we are today. What did we do? Somebody said to me, and it changed my life, and I should have put this on a slide. It might change yours. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Someone write that in the chat. That'd be great. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And that's what we were doing for years. we were consistently trying to appeal to everybody. We were consistently trying to add new services. We were consistently coming up with random campaign ideas to pounce on the email list that we had purchased and we could spam people with, and none of it was working. And when I heard that line, something changed. We were like, wait a minute. Why are we doing yet another campaign? Why are we considering paying yet another telesales company to do the telesales for us? Why don't we do something different? I think we're having an identity crisis. Let's have a conversation. And we began a reset journey. And these stages, we didn't know these stages at the time. This was just the natural progression of our change as a business. But looking back, we've been able to identify the key 5 stages that we went through to go from struggling, trapped, long hours, terrible work-life balance to 2 businesses that are enjoying what they do. And the first one was, frankly, our identity. You need a good identity as a business. You need to know who you are, what you do, who you serve, etc. The next step is value. That's understanding the value you have to offer. That's knowing your worth, etc. Next is platform. Platform means you know where you're showing up. You know what your messaging is, etc. Then there is your output. That's improving your output as you grow. And then there is your future, where you're planning for the future and scaling. Those are the key stages that we've been on over the last 10 or 15 years. But for the first crux of change for us was these 3 points that we're going to look at today, which is identity, value, and platform. And what I would encourage you to do, a little bit of a pitch here, but go and listen to episode number 200. It's now very old, but it's still very pertinent to today. Episode number 200, agencytrailblazer.com/200. I go through this journey and I go through all of the key stages, and I then link you to tons of other content that we have within the podcast as well, that you can go ahead and listen to learn more on any particular area. Let's look at identity. So we recognized that we had an identity crisis, and to help us work through that identity crisis, we started to ask ourselves some questions. We got together, we agreed that nothing was off the table. We were just going to be raw. And we asked the first question, which was, why the hell are we running this agency? And at first, frankly, the only reason we were running the agency was so that we didn't lose our homes, which sucked. So we had to then have a deeper conversation and say, well, why did we start this agency? What is it about what we do that is so awesome? Who are we serving? What are we great at? What are our strengths? And those conversations started to go deep. And we started to tell each other stories, and stories are really, really important, where we would look back at past projects and go, wow, do you remember the time with such and such client when we produced that amazing brand and they won awards and we got to travel to Dubai with them and blah, blah, blah. Or do you remember that time where we built that event website for that client and we saw a 20% increase in conversion? Wasn't that amazing? Those sorts of stories we started telling ourselves. We also told ourselves the negative stories. Do you remember that time when we worked with that IT company and they sued us for a refund and we had to give them a refund plus expenses? You know, there's a lot of negative stories in there as well, a lot of tough times. Or do you remember that time that Lee was crying just behind me here? I was stood there crying at 3 a.m. in the morning because Apple had finally, on the Apple 3GS, I'll add, you know, that's how long ago this was, had finally approved an app that we were developing for a client. I was the director of a company. I'd worked 3 weeks of my own time on that, let alone all of my staff who'd worked on it, and we only charged £500. So that was another story that we told ourselves. It's usually that story that I cry a bit about because the £500 is ridiculous for the amount of work that we put in, and that was it. It was wasted time. We never did anything else with that app after that. So originally we'd gone from, we're running our agency to keep the lights on, to feed the family, and that's kind of all we're doing. So we're in fight mode. We're just struggling to keep going, and we're in a really bad time, so let's just keep going. We went from that conversation to, well, actually, we are really good at branding and we're really good at building websites. Those are the 2 things we enjoy the most, and they're the most successful projects that we've had. And we really love the events industry, and we love those sorts of clients that we've worked with. Sure, we've worked with IT and they've got a lot more money than the events industry. Sure, we've worked with pharmaceuticals directly. They've got more money than the events industry, but neither of those were fun. We can think of a lot of experiences where we didn't enjoy working with those clients, but the events industry is different. I myself have experience in doing events. I've also got a lot of church life behind me as well. And it's the same with Tim, my business partner, same with Dan. We all had this experience in the events industry where we're like, guys, actually, we think we enjoy this. We think we can show up in the events industry and help events create phenomenal brands that bring communities together year on and year out, and create websites that allow everybody to connect. So that was essentially it. We recognized that we had some strengths, that was branding and development, in building community, and in understanding a very specific set of people. That is the people that we serve. We've got it here. Who do you serve? We understood their problems, and we understood their dreams and aspirations, and we knew what we did to help them. And it became very obvious that we were not a full service agency trying to give everybody everything, but we were a team that could work with conference organizers to help them build attractive professional brands, premium brands, and run phenomenal event websites that would allow them to increase footfall at their event and attract higher paying exhibitors and sponsors. It was such a freaking simple message the moment we realized what we were doing and what we were all about. And it absolutely changed everything. We finally had an identity. It's really hard, isn't it, when somebody says, hey, what do you do? Oh, I build websites for local businesses. I update their websites and I do maintenance. And, it's really hard to kind of describe what you do. And it's really hard to show up at a networking meeting and say, hey, we're looking for anybody who needs a website. Cool. However, when you show up with your identity, where you're able to stand up and say, hey, I work with professional conference organizers. They have such and such a problem, and I solve that problem by providing such and such a service. If you know of a stressed out a stressed out event organizer, I would love an introduction. Because you know your identity, you know what you can start saying. We'll talk about that in a second, but we finally had an identity. That identity became a mission, became something that all of us could buy into. And we got excited. We also then started to recognize our value. Without identity, it's next to impossible to recognize the value that you provide. If you are a full service agency providing all things to all people with no core mission, with no core identity, it's going to be hard to recognize your value. And you're going to do what we did, which was looking around you and thinking, oh, well, they're cheaper over there and they offer more services over there, so we need to compete at those levels. The moment we understood our identity, we recognized that we are awesome at what we do because we told those stories. We reminded ourselves of all of those times over the last 10 years or so where we'd had incredible experiences with our clients. We knew we were awesome at what we did, but we also knew who we were serving. Therefore, we knew that we were solving expensive problems. It is an expensive problem for a professional conference organizer to create a brand new brand in an area that they don't have any particular specialism in, but to attract all of the right people within that specific area and get them all in the same room and get sponsors in. Quick bit of background: professional conference organizers tend to not be in any specific sector, but if they see an opportunity in a specific sector, they will start an event in it with no background whatsoever. So they've got to build every single time a brand from scratch and get a whole community together nearly overnight and get them all in the same room. We knew we could help them solve that very expensive problem. We also knew that we could help them achieve their dreams. We've worked now with some of these conference organizers for 11 or 12 years, and we designed their original logo for their business, and now they have 250 employees and are turning over millions. It's insane, the sorts of companies that we've been able to grow up with because we've been able to help them achieve their dreams. We've partnered with them over the years because we specialized. With our value, with our identity, we recognized that we already had years of experience in that particular target audience that we were going to serve. We recognized that we were not a regular agency and that we had worth. Value goes so much further than that, but just value alone. If you look at what you can do, if you look at the skills, if you look at what you bring to the table and look at who it is you serve and what you can do for them and what problems you can solve for those people, all of that has immense value. And that absolutely changed everything for us. We knew who we were serving. We knew we were worth it. We knew we had value, and we were therefore able to start to build out products and services at a price that was exceptionally more expensive than we'd ever dared to charge in the past. But we knew that by the end of that, we would be able to deliver results for the people that we were serving. Therefore, we recognized the immense value of those products and services that we had to offer. We suddenly felt brave because we had an identity, we understood our value, and we were able to charge £3,300 for a basic event website that would be up for 3 or 4 months. We wouldn't have dreamt of doing that in the past. We'd have done it for maybe £250 to £500. Identity plus value. We grew. I don't want to say that. I know you're all thinking the same word. We got braver, is what I'll say, because I don't know who else is watching this. Let's keep going anyway. From value, feel free to type it in the comments if you're brave. From the identity and value, we were able to build upon that and develop our platform. We knew who we were serving. We knew our identity and what our strengths were, and what we could do for the people that we were serving. We understood our value, but because we understood all of that, we understood where the target audience was. We knew exactly where to go now to go and find more customers like the ones we've had. We know we need to go to ETL, which is Event Tech Live. We go every single year. We know we need to go to Confex. That's again every single year. That's where event organizers show up. We knew we needed to start putting advertisements in industry rags. That's like for the Event Tech magazine, or the Event and Exhibition Show magazine. All these different events, we needed to start putting our advertisements in, contributing content, showing up on particular podcasts or on YouTube channels, showing up wherever we knew our audience was. We also recognized that we had a whole load of existing clients in that sector who we had touched in the past and done a little bit here or there with. So we could also connect with them and catch up and tell them what had changed in our business and find out what's going on in theirs. We understood our platform, we understood our messaging, and we understood where we needed to go because we had our identity sorted, and we understood our value and our worth. With your platform, you're going to know where to show up, how to show up, what to talk about, and the marketing activities that you should engage with. We knew to show up to those events. We knew to build a new email list. We knew to create content and value. We knew to connect with past clients who were in that particular sector. And when we connected on all those points, we knew what we needed to talk about, which was the dreams and aspirations of that target audience and the problems that they had, and present solutions. That was essentially it. We got it. We finally knew where to show up on social media, all because of that initial reset of understanding our identity. So everything starts with the identity of your business. And one of the reasons I love GoWP, especially their Facebook group, is because they call themselves the niche web agency owners. And it's so important. Niche may sound a bit twee, and maybe people think, oh, you're just talking, the riches are in the niches. It's all a bit lame. If you forget all that, if you just think of niche as identity, job's a good one. Once you've worked out your identity, everything else comes naturally. Let's just have a look at those 5 stages of transformation. Here we go. Once you understand your identity, that's who you serve, your strengths, what you do for them. You recognize your value, you know how much you can start charging, etc. You know where to show up with your platform. As you start to gain more clients, you're going to want to improve your output, because another source of revenue, etc., is clients continuing to work with you and bringing other similar clients in. And then, of course, there is the scalability to the future. everything starts with your identity. And if you are a member of this Facebook group at GoWP, if you are consuming their content, you are definitely in the right place to help you understand your identity and the identity of your target audience. So like I said, our reset was identity, value, and platform. So what I want to do really is share with you, I'm coming into land so we can do some questions shortly, but I want to share with you then what I think you should be doing over the next few days and weeks. And then we will open up for some questions. The next step in your marketing roadmap. Number one is unpack your identity. The slides for this have been made available to Emily. I believe she'll be emailing them out. But if not, just connect with Emily. You can get those. But ask yourself these questions and go and listen to episode 200 as well, because we go through a whole lot of questions. Ask yourself these questions in your identity. Why am I running my business? What are my strengths? Who do I serve? What are the problems or the aspirations of the people I serve? How do I help? Just write all that down. These are great questions to get you started to help unpack your identity. Once you've done that, recognize your worth. Take a look at what it is. That's the value. Take a look at what it is that you've done in the past and remind yourself of how freaking awesome you are, because you are freaking awesome. And please don't put yourself down. Remember, you know what you know. You don't know what you don't know. And a lot of people don't know what they don't know. You know what you know because of the years you've put in. You can do things quickly because of the years you've put in. That all has value. So start to look at, hey, how awesome you are. Look at the problems you're solving and recognize the financial implications of the problems that you're solving for people. Also the financial implications of the dreams, etc. Recognize, like I said, the years of experience. Tell yourself, I ain't not a regular agency. And write down some form of mission if you don't already have one. We've done this and we revisit it every few months, helping us understand who it is we're serving and what it is we're doing for them. But establish some sort of mission for yourself so you can understand we are an agency that has a mission, that has worth, that looks after a certain set of people with a certain set of dreams, aspirations, and problems. And we are superheroes. Once you've done those two, you're going to feel freaking awesome, I hope. And that's where you can then start to establish your platform. Once you know your identity and you can show up with that self-worth and that value, you can now start to build your platform. And that could be choosing where to show up. That could be starting your own podcast. That could be starting your own blog. That could be guesting on other people's podcasts. That could be going to events. It could be launching your own event. It could be writing a book. I don't know. Only you will know, because you will know your target audience and you will know what you do best and what your strengths are. But you can say, right, this is where I'm going to show up because my target audience shows up in these places. My target audience consumes content in that sort of way. Next, you want to take a look at your brand voice. For me, my brand voice is me. This is how I talk with everybody day in, day out, including my wife and children. So I've just shown up as me. I learned a long time ago that I can't fake it. I just need to be me and enjoy life. But set your brand voice. Do you have a brand voice? What sort of brand voice do the people that you work with need to hear? Your brand voice isn't just necessarily the way you verbally talk, but it might be the way that you write. Are you more witty? Are you more serious, etc.? And again, that's all going to depend on the target audience that you're trying to attract. You can then start to plan out your messages. And for me, it was really, really easy. Back in the day when I used to run Angled Crown and we used to serve agency owners, we knew that agency owners would have freelancers disappearing mid-project. So that was one of our messages that we would really hone in on to say, hey, are you sick of freelancers disappearing mid-project? So what sort of messages can you give? In the events industry, one of the messages we talk about now is attracting the higher paying and invested sponsors. It's all great having a high paying sponsor, but you want a sponsor who's really invested, who wants to take part, who really wants to partner. And that's a big problem in the events industry. So it's something that we can talk about. So what are the problems and what are the dreams and aspirations? Therefore, what messages can you plan? Then review your social media marketing channels. And with those messages, with that brand voice on the channels that you've selected, rock out that messaging in whatever forms you see fit via social media, turn up events, have those conversations, advertising, print, whatever it is needed to be. But most importantly, you need to show up with that identity, understanding your value on the platforms that your target audience with those dreams, aspirations, and problems are showing up on. And I know that sounds oversimplified, but believe you me, it really is as simple as that. It is, though, a journey. It's not an overnight thing. It's please ignore those get rich quick schemes, all of that sort of stuff, and automated funnels and selling this to do that and all the other stuff. I don't even understand it. It's never worked for me. It's always been a waste of time. What worked for me was building relationships based on my own identity and then understanding the people that we were going to look after. What I would encourage you to do is to go ahead and check out agencytrailblazer.com, subscribe to the podcast. If you listen to the podcast, we need more reviews. It's pretty low, the number of reviews, and we've been going for like 6 years. So throw in a nice 5-star review if you'd like. But also at the bottom right-hand side and on all the pages, you can get access to the 5 stages of transformation checklist. What that's going to do is give you a whole load of questions that you can ask yourself and your agency in a workbook format. So you can figure out where you're at and what you need to do next. And I will encourage you and say, I have nothing to sell you. I do have a course, but you don't have to buy it. It's not, that's actually for the output stage. So if you're not at that stage, don't even worry about it. I run Agency Trailblazer because the 2000s and the recessions were the darkest time of my life. And it pains me to know that there are still agencies, there are still people out there that are struggling, that are competing in a race to the bottom, that are dealing with real horrible, nasty clients that maybe feel trapped in their business, that can't generate new leads or just feel stuck. And I don't want that for anyone. I don't want to sell anyone false hope. I've got no messaging here of, hey, I've got this really clever idea that'll make you millions next week and you can retire. I just did what worked for me. I've seen it work for so many other people. I ain't got nothing to sell you. Feel free to jump on that. You can unsubscribe from the list as soon as you've got it, but just go download it and please start to unpack your identity, know your worth, understand your value, and then start to build your platform, because that is the best payment ever, I think, for anything that I have to share. So I guess with that, I can do the standard thank you. Are there any questions? And hope Emily appears.
Here I am. I was listening the whole time, see?
And you didn't interrupt once. I was expecting questions.
No, it was fantastic. I was just sitting here nodding my head. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, oh, yeah, that sounds familiar. I can drink water now. That was fantastically. Thank you so much. So much of what you said, and this is what some of the comments that I'm seeing also over in the Facebook group is so familiar, right? Even if you're if you're an agency owner or if you're a business, this applies, and it applies to, as an agency owner, to what advice you would give your business customers, right? And helping them to grow as well. Yeah. So much of what you were saying also resonates with me from GoWP, when we haven't always niched into agencies, but when I first started on this team, we were still helping with direct businesses as well. And it wasn't until we started niching into agencies and really focusing on what we do best and clarifying that message and all of the things you just went through on that list, that you really just start seeing so much more success and feeling good about what you're doing and feeling like you're doing things right and just more fulfilled. All of the things you were saying, it really hit home. So thank you for that. Awesome. And I know that you talked about that in your, I'm going to share some links here because you did some podcast episodes with Brad.
We interviewed Brad, about niching.
About niching. So just sharing those there in the chat for those.
That was actually from Agency Transformation Live last year that you guys sponsored. So we did the digital event version, and we're hoping that we can do the physical next year. And I see Beth Livingston in the comments. Beth, I hope you can come over. We'll have an amazing time. That was the mid show. I interviewed Brad, didn't I, during lunch?
Yeah, that's right.
That became a podcast because it was so much fun.
Yeah, that's right. You were doing the interview during lunch, and then I think it was during the interview you said, all right, I'm going to make this a bonus podcast episode.
Why not?
So there we go. I love that. We've got one question coming in from Nicole on our Facebook stream over here. So with the identity, how much is the agency owner brand and the agency identity brand linked? She's saying, I think one builds on the other.
Absolutely. And that So for us, for Event Engine in particular, I wasn't actually visible for a very long time. We actually built the brand of Event Engine through the existing clients that we'd had and the existing relationships that we had. We understood our messaging. So it also meant we understood what corridors to go and walk around. We knew we needed to go down to companies like Reed Exhibitions, who run like 500 events around the world. So we needed to go and talk to those people. It's very old school, I know. People are saying, oh, do a social media campaign. Actually, what really worked for us was going to see the contacts we already knew and go and walk around the halls and take them out to McDonald's. I'm obviously joking. Take them out to a decent meal, schmooze a few people, and generate leads that way. So that is how we started. Therefore, that was very much about the professional look of our organization, which gave the feeling of safety and security, but also the niceness of the people within the business. That's how we operated at first. But as we slowly became better known as a brand, and the two brands diverged so that people could understand the difference. That was when I then started to elevate me as one of the people. So me and Tim are well known in very specific circles within the events industry. I'm known in the event tech arena, whereas Tim is more in this kind of thought leadership area where they're talking about the future of events and philosophy and all sorts of stuff like that, and kind of mixes with those sorts of people. So we have both become two personal brands that are intrinsically tied to the business, and our personal brands, we show up as the idiots we are in real life, but we're professional idiots. As in, we like to have fun, but we are professional, and so is the business. The brand reflects that. So the same experience that people have when they're talking with us as people is the experience that they would have with us and all of our team within the business itself. So people understand that Lee shows up in a cap and hoodies and skinny jeans because he's clearly having a midlife crisis and will sign a contract with a big company in London regardless, and they're all in suits and ties apart from me. But they get it because they get the personal brand and they also get the type of company dynamic that we've created. So yeah, Nicole is totally, I think you said it was Nicole, wasn't it? Totally right.
Nicole, yeah.
And one, you need both. You need an identity for the business. You also need your personal identity. We were lucky we didn't have to build the personal identity first. We were doing it old school, so we could just go and meet with the people we already knew to build the business from there. But yeah, you certainly don't want complete crazy personal brand over here and then really corporate company over here. That would be weird. It'd be a bit of a culture shock.
I think that's first of all, it's such a good question from Nicole, and also what you said is so pertinent, because a lot of times it can come down to also, not even necessarily the agency owner, depending on who you have doing sales and that sort of stuff. But if you have a sales team going out there representing you, and then the delivery of that is coming from different people, everyone needs to be on the same page on what the agency brand is and being true to that, right? So making sure that everyone's on the same page there.
We have that. So that conversation. So we do 2 stand-up meetings a day, but they're not about what the work we're doing. They're just a quick chat to check how everyone is. We call it Kettle for no reason other than we were coming up with names and there was a kettle next to Tim. So the name stuck. So we meet at 9 a.m. for a quick chat. We also then meet at 1, and our 1 p.m. is usually our time to talk about ourselves, the business, the culture, things we want to do or introduce into the company. And that's not us as the leadership. That's actually the other team members sharing what they see. We've been talking about maybe we should go for the 4-day work week. That's a great idea. I actually suggested that one. That wasn't one of our team members, but those are the sorts of things we're talking about. So that means that our team are helping build the culture and the brand, but they're also, what's the word? They're kind of living the brand, as it were, on a daily basis. So by the time it gets to one of our employees talking with one of our clients, they're going to get the same caring experience, the same focus on listening. We really want to focus on listening to people first before we say anything. So they're going to get that consistent experience throughout.
And
it doesn't always work like that, and we screw up all the time. Let's just face it. I'm telling you everything in theory, but in reality, we screw up at least 3 times a week, and I have to go and call and apologize to someone. So just thought I'd throw that
it happens to everybody. Yeah, you heard it.
It's usually me that screws up. I'm the one who gets triggered, and then I get rude.
And then everyone has to
And then Tim
go
tells me
clean up
off.
Lee's mess. Yeah.
No, he's like, you go clean your own mess up. I'm like, sorry. I'm really sorry. I've had a bad day, and I know that's not an excuse. No, anyway, I'm not that bad. It's been a long time since I slammed the phone down on someone.
Well, that's good. That's good. Keeping our anger in check is always good as well. Which probably, part of this whole process probably helped with that also, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
So we've got a comment from Ben here. So he says that Lee, you were the first person he met at WordCamp London in 2018, and that you're still speaking a lot of sense. Do you advise an agency of one person to bring out the singular identity, or continue a perceived look of a bigger agency?
That's great. Great question. So when I launched Angled Crown, it was just me and one other employee. So for anyone who doesn't know background wise, when we started to migrate Event Engine over as its own corporate identity, I also wanted to launch my own business as well, which was called Angled Crown, where we focused on doing one thing really well, which was building WordPress websites from designs. GoWP, you guys offer that sort of service nowadays, which is awesome. So it was just me and one employee. Therefore, we looked at where we wanted to be in 5 years as an agency. So we knew we were an agency, that we were going to be an agency over time, and that we were going to grow. So we were looking at, where do we want to be? What do we want to be doing in 5 years? Excuse me, which has significantly changed now. And that's how we're going to talk. That's how we're going to perceive ourselves. That's how we're going to build up our identity. So don't hear me wrong. I'm not saying lie and say you're a huge agency, but what I mean is plan your identity for where you want to be. So we've always been honest wherever we've been on the journey. Hey, we're a 2-person team. Hey, we're a 3-person team now. Hey, this is what we do. This is our specialism, and we can't help you with that. Sorry, but we can just do this really well. If not, go speak to Pete over there. He can do that. That's how we've run our business the whole way through. But that's what we did for many years. Event Engine now has grown so much, and so has the agency Trailblazer brand, that we eventually closed Angled Crown because it was becoming a distraction from the 2 missions that we had. And when you've got companies like GoWP who can take that mantle, then there's no need for us to be doing that. So we eventually stopped it. But I hope that helps answer, Ben, and good to see you again. Well, see your text.
Yeah. Great. I think that was a really great question from Ben, and great answer there. And yeah, speaking from the GoWP side of things is, I've done case studies for us and talked to our customers and that sort of thing. And people really, they love the singular identity agencies, the 1-person agencies. They love being able to say, sign up for a care plan and our team will take care of it. Because when you partner with GoWP, you do get the team and you get all of us to work with you. So it is kind of a fun way to get a bigger team while still running your own agency and doing the 1-person show as well. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up as well, Lee. Let's see, we've got another question from Beth. So, we've got a comment from April in Facebook. She said, I consider my business community as part of my board of directors. Before I had a team, the board of directors was my we. So she considers her peers, that greater agency kind of identity. And that's great. And it goes into what Beth is saying here in the chat as well. She said that she's still connecting with folks from Agency Transformation Live. And it's really helped her refine her identity. So Lee, she was asking if you could speak to the role that your peers can play when figuring those sorts of things out. She thinks it's priceless.
So what we did during the 2020 virtual Agency Transformation Live was we set up some masterminds with people. And forgive me if I'm wrong, Beth, but I think you're still in yours, which is phenomenal. So a few of these masterminds have continued on to over a year later, and people's businesses are being significantly changed by those masterminds. There is nothing better than building up Beth says, I can see it. Yes, we meet monthly. Beth, you're awesome. And I know who's on your team. So hey to everyone. There is nothing like having peers to help support you. What we set up essentially was a model for people to have a conversation where they would bring a particular problem to a group meeting of peers. And they would unpack that. They would say, this is my problem. I want to do this. Maybe I want to raise an extra £10,000 for my business, or I'm struggling with a horrible client and I think they're going to sue me. What do I do? Blah, 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 blah. And then you hear from the room, the rest of the people with you on the mastermind, essentially what they feel you should do. And you get advice and, you pick it apart together and you come up with some really, really good solutions, but you also get the accountability, etc. And that's what Beth's talking about that she's been doing, which is phenomenal. It's something that I've been doing still to this day, where where I'm part of an ongoing mastermind. I'm actually part of two specific masterminds. One is a mastermind which is a generalist. It's a no niche, i.e., I'm in a mastermind where there is an accountant in it, and there is a builder in it. Like literally it's random people, but it's really helpful learning about different industries and how they deal with things. And then the other mastermind is of peers, of people who are also within the event tech industry. So I get to work with them and understand, how are they dealing with big data, or how are you onboarding new clients, or how are you attracting clients in that particular space, or can you guys help me with this problem? So those are the two masterminds that I would definitely recommend, the two types of masterminds that I would recommend. Of course, as well, there are things like the Facebook groups. So if you're not a member of the niche Facebook group for GoWP, get your ass in there and then leave all the others, because you need to focus on just one and do it really well. If that means you have to leave mine, that's fine. Just find your home and focus on that one place where your peers are and build up relationships, build up accountability. It's so freaking important.
Yeah, that's awesome. And your Facebook group is fantastic as well. And we appreciate so much all the kind words you have.
I just spam it all the time nowadays. I'm sorry.
and we do in the, if you're not a member of the Niche Agency Owners Facebook group, we do weekly calls every Friday. Save a couple if it's a holiday or something like that. We've missed only a few in the last year. And those calls are so valuable. I mean, we've got so many, it's always 20 to 30 people. We've got people watching live in the Facebook group and commenting in and talking about different topics each week and celebrating wins, and also talking about struggles and helping each other out. And if someone needs help with SEO work, there's people there to chime in and say, hey, I can help you there. And those connections happen, offline, and it's fantastic. Beth's there saying she loves the happiness hour, and I
am the perfect guest because I can set you up for pitches to your heart's content.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to catch them. I can't catch them all.
We've done the PSD service, so that's the design service. We've talked about the event several times. We've got the happiness hour.
Yeah.
We've got the membership area. Come on, guys.
Keeping me on my toes. Yeah, for sure. It's wonderful. We've got John saying he wishes they were a little earlier. They're at 3 p.m. on Fridays. And
I'm with you, John. I can't get to them either. I'm in bed by then, I'm afraid. So
so that's 8 p.m.
And I have a 6-month-old, so whose sleep doesn't happen at the right time. So I'm on like Australian time right now.
Yeah, that's fun. Sounds like fun. And then the hour change definitely helps too, right?
Oh, it didn't help at all. No, I'm exhausted today.
I don't see any other questions coming in. I'll chit chat a little bit longer just in case it gives anyone else a chance real quick. I know we've got a 10 second delay set up, so making sure we're getting all.
You can pull the plug.
Lee, thank you so much for this. I think all of the personal experiences you were so generous with sharing on this presentation, this webinar was really helpful, eye-opening. I know it resonates it resonated with me. I'm seeing that it resonates with the people watching. And I know it will continue to, as we have people watching this recording. If you're watching the recorded version of this, still, if you're watching this in the Facebook group, comment, let us know what you like about it, what you're learning from it. Let us know these things. What I'm going to do after this right now is I'm going to go give some great reviews to the Agency Trailblazer podcast. I hope everyone else joins me in giving those reviews as well, and subscribing to that podcast because it is wonderful. I'm so excited to help do that also, and continue to see all the great episodes you're churning out there, because they're really great and they're wonderful for the agency owner community. So thank you, Lee. Without any questions coming in.
So I've just pasted the link for episode 200 that goes through the 5 stages of transformation.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. And we'll include that. I'll include links to this in the follow-up email for everybody who is registered for this event. If you're watching the Facebook group, I'll put those links in the event page so you can reference back to there and get all the links. And I'll also be sharing the links to the slides that Lee has so generously shared as well. So thank you, Lee. Thank you everyone for tuning in and for watching live, and great questions, great feedback, all of that. It helped make this such a great event. So thank you so much. Lee, we will see you in the group. So if anyone has further questions, they can tag Lee in the group. Yep.
Join the Facebook group.
Thank you, Lee. See you next time.
Bye. Bye.